Welcome to Awaken Steps to Health with Sue. Today's topic is grains. Grains are kind of a subsection of carbohydrates, which we already talked about, but I thought it would be very interesting for you to hear a little bit more logic behind why we want to eat whole grains, okay? And again, what I do is all about eating natural food, not a lot of processed food, so it's got some cooking involved, okay? And planning. So when I talk about grains, I'm really talking about the big ones, rice, oats, and quinoa. And technically, quinoa is not really a grain. It's really a seed, but we're going to call it a grain. All right. Now, these grains have fiber. They have vitamins and minerals. And remember, we talked about the phytonutrients. When a plant grows, it creates things, vitamins and things that we don't even know that our body needs. It creates things that we cannot duplicate. All right. So that's why eating a natural food is so good for us. All right. Now, when I'm talking about rice, I'm not talking about the white rice or the processed rice, like a minute rice or Uncle Ben's rice or one of those processed rices. When you look at the grain of rice, it's white because the outside shell has been taken off. Okay, it's processed. So what happens is that outside shell is where all the nutrition is, the vitamins, the minerals, and whatever else has been stripped away. That's why minute rice can be cooked so quickly. It's just kind of the inside of the grain of rice. All right. And the same goes with oats or whatever it might be. So we want really brown rice. I would recommend organic if you can, because there's a lot of controversy about rice and how it's grown. So go with organic. All right. It's not super expensive, and it does take a little prep to do it the right way. Now, sometimes I will do it the quick way because I've forgotten to soak it, but you want to soak rice or oat groats, and it removes the phytic acid and also the lectins, okay? And basically, it kind of gets it, the enzymes kind of get brought out by soaking. All right, so let's talk about oats. We know what a Quaker oat looks like. It's a flat little oat. Okay, those are called rolled oats. Again, it's like the outside part of the oat grain has been taken away. All the nutrition's gone pretty much, but it cooks pretty quickly, right? So a whole grain oat is called an oat groat, Groat. All right. And it almost looks like rice. And then there's what we call steel cut oats, which are the oat groats, but they're kind of cut in half, so they cook a little faster. But the best way to do oats is really oat groats, and you soak them. And brown rice, and you soak it. So, you can soak it as long as you want. I'd say 8 hours is amazing. Like if you know you're going to have oats, or in the morning, you could put it in a bowl of water before you go to bed. And there it is. It's easy. Okay. So it's a little pre-planning. If you're running out the door to work and you know you're going to have rice for dinner, throw some rice in a bowl with water, and there you go. You've got it pre-soaked. So it's so much healthier for you than if you don't soak it. And like I said, there's so many times I'm like, oh, I forgot to soak the rice. Okay, I'll just make it, okay, and suck it up. But like I said, it gets rid of the phytic acid and the lectins, right? It also makes it easier to cook, and it's got some other nutritional benefits to it. So again, rice, you want to get the brown rice if possible, organic if possible, because of that shell around the rice has not been removed. Okay, same with the oat groats or even the steel cut oats. If you have to eat the the rolled oats, the ones that are without the outside piece of it, get the kind that you have to cook. Don't get those little packages and all that stuff with the sugar in it, because that's not good for you. It's way over processed, and it's got so many things added to it. It's not good for you. All right. And oats cook up in like 2 seconds. They're really good for you and quick to cook. When I make oatmeal, I add a lot of stuff to it. So I don't use milk on my oatmeal. I will add berries, walnuts. I superfood it up. I'll put raisins in there, superfood stuff in there, cinnamon, whatever. And I'll eat it plain without the milk, like I said. And it's very, for me, it's very filling, and it holds me from breakfast until lunchtime, which is what you want to do. And if you've tried the breakfast experiment, you might have already discovered that. So the more stuff you put in it, of course, you're amping up the nutrition. It's more fun to eat. Sometimes I'll put yogurt on it if I have it. And again, I do the coconut yogurt or whatever, but I eat it plain. All right. Rice you can use for everything. And there's actually studies out there that show that when rice is cooked and then chilled in the fridge for, let's say, 8 hours or more, it actually has a higher nutritional level and a higher digestibility level. Okay. So I'm just seeing a lot of videos and reports coming out to that effect. So let's say you cook a big batch of rice and you're going to have it for the next 3 or 4 days. It's actually good for you to have it in the fridge cold, according to these studies and videos I've been seeing. All right. Now, rice and oats have fiber. And we talked about this, I think it was the carbohydrate video about soluble and insoluble fiber. So soluble fiber is like an oat. It sucks in the water or the fluid or whatever. It creates bulk and it kind of flushes through your intestines. Okay. It's good. Rice does that as well. So these are great things to have because they have the vitamins and minerals and they have the fiber and they fill you up. All right. So again, your philosophy, if you want to reduce carbs, you don't need to eat these, but they're a really good staple to have in the house, relatively inexpensive, easy to prepare, and you can make so many types of dishes from them. All right, now, one thing I did want to mention was corn. So corn, like, corn is obviously a vegetable, carbohydrate. And we have a lot of corn chips and corn this and corn that, tortillas and whatever out there. Most of the corn in the US at least is GMO corn, which is not preferred. Okay. So you can buy the organic chips or whatever it might be. That's better than the non-organic. But pretty much every kind of corn, whatever, is GMO. And I recommend you avoid that. All right. Let's see. Wanted to talk about gluten. All right. So we've got a lot of the increase in gluten intolerance and related diseases is gone through the roof the past 10 years or so. And gluten is the sticky glue-like substance when you're making bread or pizza dough, the dough or the bread rises. Okay. It's all kind of sticky. And it's what makes the bread soft and delicious, really. But that's gluten. So when you take the gluten out of the grain, the bread or whatever, it's if you cook gluten-free, it's a little harder and a little trickier. There are some great videos and websites out there about how to cook gluten-free. I recommend you do what they say because I've tried to substitute without the recipe. It's way easier with all the right things, okay? Because otherwise the cookie or whatever it is will fall apart. All right. So you have to know what other substitutes to use to make it stick together. But the gluten is really, I'll tell you what happens. It's not a function of age. It's a function of time. So let's say we eat a lot of bread, pizza, whatever it is, whatever has gluten in it through our lifetime. Okay. It creates sludge in our intestines. And that sludge kind of jams us up. All right. We've got all sorts of intestinal issues on its way, discomfort, bloating, weight gain, all of this stuff. Okay. Because that gluten is still hanging out in our intestines. And that's why eating things with fiber and keeping things flowing is so important. Another reason people have trouble with gluten is because our grains are sprayed with a pesticide called glyphosate, which is not good for us, and it creates intestinal issues. Okay, so that's why organic is better than non-organic, because you've theoretically not got that pesticide on or in your food. All right. One of the issues, though, is flours. So when we buy these alternative flours that are gluten-free, they have a higher glycemic index. So we want to really look at the ingredients in our food, depending on where we are in our life and what our goals are, to reduce the glycemic index and to eat the highest fiber, higher vitamin, higher mineral, higher phytonutrient food that we can get. All right. So all of those all-purpose enriched white flours, cake flour, blah, 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 they've all had the outside of the wheat grain, or whatever you want to call it, stripped off. They've bleached it, they've processed it, they've done this, they've done that, and that has really zero nutrition for you. The bread or the muffin still tastes good, but it's got no nutrition. Where again, the alternative flours, the gluten-free, have whatever in it maybe, but it has a higher glycemic index. So the best type of breads or whatever to buy are the sprouted grain breads, as I think I talked about in the carbohydrate video. Sprouted green breads are usually found in either the health food area of your store or in the freezer section. I recommend you freeze them because there are no preservatives and they will spoil quickly and you'll be mad. But they're very dense, but they're really good for you because when they sprout those grains, it releases the enzymes in the food. So I used to, use them a lot. I don't eat very much bread at all myself, but if I do get a loaf, I will stick it in the freezer. All right. And then maybe put a couple little baggies for easy grabbing and easy defrosting or whatever. All right. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. The handouts you might want to look at today are called Nutrition 101. There's 3 pages: carbs, fats, and proteins. And one of the good brands of sprouted grain bread it's available here is called Ezekiel. It's like got an orange wrapper, orangish brown. And there are other brands that are sprouted grain that are equally as good. All right. Wanted to talk about fiber. We talked about soluble, the oat or the grain of rice. It sucks up the water or the liquid or whatever. It creates bulk and it helps your intestines clear themselves out more quickly and easily. And you'll probably notice when you start to eat more of the real grains, how things are flushing out. So you'll actually kind of lose a lot of the bloating, the big belly, maybe some of your intestinal problems will go away. Where if you eat, a lower fiber diet, you're going to have like kind of a weight gain and bigger belly and a little bit of bloating and everything gets jammed up in there. So that's why fiber is so important. All right. So hope this covered everything and answered more questions. Thank you for watching. And I'm trying to think if I missed anything. Grains. So whole grains. Oh, there is a handout called Great Grains and How to Cook Grains in the Bubble Up group. Sorry, I didn't say that earlier. And so there's a lot more grains that I talked about, but the common ones are really rice, oats, and quinoa. There's amaranth and all sorts of other great grains that are very delicious and healthy for you. All right. So there's cooking instructions like how much water to put with the grain, how long to cook it, blah, blah, blah. And then I would suggest you add in your herbs, your seasonings, your whatever, and then you can make lots of different dishes from these things. Thanks so much for listening.